The signs of hip-hop's influence are everywhere. American rapper and music producer Pharrell Williams recently became a creative director for the French fashion company Louis Vuitton. Other hip-hop stars, including Dr. Dre, Diddy, and Jay-Z, started billion-dollar fashion, lifestyle, and music companies. But it did not start out that way. Hip-hop started 50 years ago as an escape from the poverty and violence in the Bronx area of New York City. The music and style appealed to Black and Latino teenagers. As hip-hop spread throughout New York, so did the culture. People often mix up hip-hop with rap. Rap is a musical style that combines quick recitation of rhymes with musical beats. But hip-hop is more than just music. It is a culture, and rap music is one part of it. Hip-hop also includes other activities like breakdancing, disc jockeying, and graffiti art. In his 1993 song, Hip Hop vs. Rap, KRS-One said, "Rap is something you do. Hip-hop is something you live." In the early days of hip-hop, playing music on the streets, or turning a basketball court into a dance floor, may have seemed like a simple invitation to have fun and party. But it actually was an answer to social and economic injustice in poor neighborhoods. It was a way to show joy and imagination even without resources and wealth. As hip-hop and rap music grew into a force in American culture, entertainers used it to speak to their personal realities. In 1982, in the song The Message, Grandmaster Flash and the Furious Five denounced poverty and a lack of investment in Black communities. Several years later, Tupac Shakur railed against police violence in the song Changes. Today, hip-hop's influence on music and other industries is so widespread that experts say it becomes difficult to measure. Writer Zach O'Malley Greenberg estimates that hip-hop's 5 wealthiest artists were collectively worth nearly $4 billion in 2022. There is also hip-hop's influence on protest, resistance, and political dissent around the world. From the Arab Spring and the Palestinian freedom fight to feminism and class struggles, rap music is a popular expression for calls to action. Music videos produced by artists in Africa, Europe, Asia, and South America often include breakdancers, graffiti, and other elements of hip-hop. In 2016, former U.S. President Barack Obama answered questions about human rights and free expression during a visit to Vietnam. One question came from Suboy, a female rapper known as Vietnam's Queen of Hip-Hop. She said she struggled against the Vietnamese stereotype that rap and hip-hop music are not a good form of expression for Asian women. Let's be honest, sometimes art is dangerous. And that's why governments sometimes get nervous about art, Obama said. But one of the things that I truly believe is that if you try to suppress the arts, then I think you're suppressing the deepest dreams and aspirations of a people. American civil rights leader Reverend Al Sharpton was 18 years old when hip-hop took off in his native New York. He said rap music fueled the movement that has shaped much of his public life. Now 68 years old, Sharpton said he believes hip-hop culture was part of what made it possible for the United States to elect its first Black president in 2008. Hip-hop took the chains off us and said, "No, we're gonna say it our way," Sharpton said. It was that freedom. It was that raw, non-watered-down kind of expression. I'm Katie Weaver.
Wildfires on Hawaii's island of Maui have killed at least 55 people and destroyed a historic town, officials said. The number of deaths is expected to rise even higher. Officials said it will take years to rebuild Lahaina, the one-time capital of the former Kingdom of Hawaii. Governor Josh Green said the fire was the worst natural disaster in the state's history, making thousands of people homeless and burning as many as 1,000 buildings. In 1960, a tsunami killed 61 people in the state. It's going to take many years to rebuild Lahaina, Green said at a Thursday news conference. Lahaina was once the home of King Kamehameha, who united Hawaii under a single kingdom. Kings and queens are buried on the grounds of the 200-year-old stone Waiола Church, one of the burned sites. Lahaina draws 2 million visitors each year, or about 80% of the island's visitors. Fueled by a dry summer and strong winds from a passing hurricane, at least 3 wildfires burned on Maui this week. Maui Fire Department Chief Brad Ventura said one fire moved so fast that it was impossible to warn people of the emergency. What we experienced was such a fast-moving fire. They were basically self-evacuating with fairly little notice, Ventura told the Associated Press. Thousands of visitors and locals were evacuated from the western side of Maui, which has a year-round population of about 166,000. Locals sheltered on the island or the neighboring island of Oahu, and visitors gathered in Kahului Airport, waiting for flights back home. Some people fled the immediate danger by jumping into the Pacific Ocean. Among them was Wisei Fongtsalinkum, a visitor from Fresno, California. He said his family was trapped in a car as the fires neared, forcing the family to jump in the water. They held on to pieces of wood to stay above water. "We floated around for 4 hours," the man told Reuters from an emergency shelter. "It was a vacation that turned into a nightmare. I heard explosions everywhere. I heard screaming, and some people didn't make it. I feel so sad," he said. Many survivors suffered burns and other injuries. "It was so hot all around me. I felt like my shirt was about to catch fire," said Nicoangelo Knickerbocker, a 21-year-old from Lahaina. Knickerbocker heard cars and a gas station explode. He fled from the town with his father and the family dog. "It sounded like a war was going on," he said. Officials said Thursday that they have contained about 80% of the Lahaina fire. There was no immediate estimate for others. However, experts say the fires are likely to change Hawaii in unwanted ways. They include a threat to coral reefs, drinking water, and its soil. Wildfires, often caused by record-setting heat, have become more common around the world this summer. They forced the evacuation of tens of thousands of people in Greece, Spain, Portugal, and other parts of Europe. In Western Canada, several unusually severe fires sent clouds of smoke over a large part of the United States, polluting the air. I'm Dan Friedel. Throughout history, technological progress has brought new wealth, but has not always improved people's lives. Economists now say it is not clear whether artificial intelligence, AI, will help or hurt society. Simon Johnson teaches economics at the Massachusetts Institute of Technology near Boston. He said, AI has a lot of possibilities, but he added, we are at a fork in the road. A fork in the road is an expression used to describe a situation where the outcome is uncertain. McKinsey is a business consulting company. It said AI could add between $14 trillion and $22 trillion of value to the world's economy. Supporters say the technology will create wealth and improve living standards. Some go as far as saying AI will increase people's free time and help them be more creative. But others are worried the technology will lead to lost jobs. They point to Hollywood writers and actors who are worried that they will be replaced by technology. The internet arrived with a similar promise of more productivity, wealth, and jobs. Last month, the French bank Natixis noted in its research that most of the wealth has gone to a few billionaires, and many of the jobs do not require highly paid, skilled workers. The bank warned in its report, we should be cautious when estimating the effects of artificial intelligence on labor productivity. In July, the Organization for Economic Cooperation and Development released its opinion research of 5,300 workers about AI. Some workers hope the technology will increase pay and job satisfaction, but they are also concerned that the technology could push people to work too hard. Such concerns are not unfounded. History has shown the economic impact of technological progress is generally uncertain, unequal, and even harmful. Johnson recently published a book, Power and Progress, with Darren Acemoglu, another economist from MIT. They studied technological progress over the last 1,000 years, including clothing production, train travel, and even food shopping. The two economists looked at an invention called the spinning jenny that made it easier to turn cotton and wool into yarn. They said the device helped clothing production and created wealth for many people in the late 1700s. However, it also increased the demand for cotton and led to longer hours for workers. The demand also led to the growth of slavery in the southern United States. Johnson noted that it is easier to create something new than to make sure it works for everyone. His book shows how the arrival of rail travel improved the lives of many people in England in the 1800s. People were able to travel longer distances and eat fresh food because it could move faster from farms to cities. On the other hand, Johnson said self-checkout technology at food stores does not lower the cost of food or make life easier for people. All it does is reduce the number of workers and help businesses lower labor costs. As for AI technology, Johnson wonders if it will make existing inequalities worse, or could it help us get back to something fairer? I'm Dan Friedel.
The U.S. National Institutes of Health, or NIH, is beginning a group of studies aimed at treatments for the condition called long COVID. Reports say millions of Americans are affected by long-lasting effects from COVID-19 infections. The NIH is using $1.15 billion provided through the American Rescue Plan Act of 2021 to study how people recover from COVID-19. The project is called Recover. The goal is to pay for studies examining the health problems that COVID patients suffer long after their infection has ended. Dr. Ziad Al-Ali is with Washington University in St. Louis, Missouri. He is not involved in the NIH project, but his own research on American veterans has brought attention to long COVID. Speaking about the NIH's project, he said, "This is a year or two late and smaller in scope than one would hope, but nevertheless it is a step in the right direction." Al-Ali said getting answers is important because there are so many people pushing unproven therapies. The term long COVID is used to describe about 200 symptoms. It is estimated that between 10 and 30% of people experience some form of long COVID after an infection. However, even federal health officials cannot agree on what long COVID truly means. U.S. Health and Human Services Secretary Javier Becerra has said, "If I get 10 people, I get 10 answers of what long COVID really is." The Recover effort has followed 24,000 patients in what are called observational studies. The goal is to define the most common symptoms. The findings will help shape future tests for treatments of the symptoms. Current tests are already taking place. They include a trial of Pfizer's antiviral drug Paxlovid. Researchers want to find out if Paxlovid can ease long COVID symptoms. The idea behind this study is that some coronaviruses remain in some patients, and the treatment will help them. Researchers are also studying treatments for brain fog and other thinking problems. Posit Science Corporation has a treatment program called Brain HQ. PASC, Cognitive Recovery, is from New York City's Mount Sinai Health System, and Soterix Medical has a device that stimulates brain connections. The 2 additional studies will begin in the coming months. One will test treatments for sleep problems in people with long COVID. Another will target breathing and heartbeat problems. People's bodies perform breathing and heartbeat unconsciously. The problems include the disorder POTS, which results from unusual blood flow to the heart. One planned trial that is the subject of some disagreement involves intolerance to exercise and tiredness or fatigue. It is not a normal experiment. It is known as a platform study. This lets the NIH add new therapies at any time. We can rapidly pivot, said Dr. Amy Patterson, who is with the NIH. She said a failing treatment can be dropped without ending the trial. She added that the study can quickly include a treatment if something promising comes on the horizon. Dr. Anthony Komaroff said it is important to be flexible. He is a researcher from Harvard University. He is not involved in NIH's Recover program. But he said studying the effects of Paxlovid on long COVID patients makes all sorts of sense. But he said researchers should consider extending the treatment for longer than 25 days if there is little sign of improvement. Komaroff said he understands that people get upset over the long wait for treatment trials. He believes, however, that NIH has waited the right amount of time. Waiting, he said, permits enough time for problems to be identified. You've got to have targets, Komaroff said. I'm Mario Ritter, Jr.